Hi everybody. How are you doing today? It's nice weather over here. I hope it's fine by you. How's the weather where you are today? I hope it's really good where you are. It's nice and warm, a little bit of moisture in the air, but nothing too dangerous, you know. So today we're talking about a very interesting topic to me. I hope to you as well, which is the business of the agro business, part of the business of the agro business, because we can't um, do a really comprehensive work in just one day because it's so multifaceted. But this is an interesting thing. On Thursday, the 24th of February 2022, Russia began its invasion of Ukraine. Now, Ukraine is about 10,000 miles from Nigeria, according to Uncle Google. And sorry, Russia. And Ukraine is about 8,000 miles from Nigeria. And the shortest flying time to Russia is 11 hours approximately. And to Ukraine is about 6 hours. So, how and why did something that happened so many thousands of kilometers away have such an effect on different aspects of our lives and economy in Nigeria and in many parts of Nigeria, of Africa? So, the main question we're going to trouble today on Unplugged is which one concern agege bread with Ukraine? You know, and that's just putting it very mildly. What does our local products, what are the interconnectivities between local produce, local foods we eat, and what happens elsewhere in the world? This is something that many of us don't even pay attention to. And before I introduce our guest today, let me give a shout out to an influencer, social media influencer here in Port Harcourt. She's called Veronica's daughter. And she was one of the first people that I noticed made a comment on that I noticed. I'm not saying other people didn't do it. So, but I noticed that she made a comment on the fact that it's very important for small and growing business owners to listen to the news, understand the news, and know connect the dots that concerns what happens in Nigeria and what happens in the world and our lives and our livelihoods. So, thank you very much for that, Veronica's daughter. So, to discuss the business of the agriculture business, otherwise known as which one concern agege bread with Ukraine, I'd like to welcome my friend and your friend, Julius Aigbe, Chef Jules of Chef Flair and Both Bakery. Welcome, Jules.
Hi, Nancy. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you. So let's add you on Instagram.
Okay.
Okay. If you can't see me on Instagram, then just ask to join.
Okay.
Hi, Essien. Hi, Jama. Welcome.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, there you are. There you are. Okay, so guys, Chef Jules, I don't know if she needs introduction. Maybe it's because she's really my good friend, and I feel she's your good friend as well. But let me just briefly introduce her. She's the current governor of the TCN Entrepreneurs. Yes, two Jules in the house. Of the TCN Entrepreneurs Accountability Group and the current Eco Chocolate Chef Challenge winner. She's the founder of both bakeries and she owns three brands: Cake Flair, Both Bistro and Chef Jules Africa. Did I pronounce that both properly? I think I did. She's a little distracted. Okay. Chef Jules is an award winning baker. She's a high art sugar crafter. She's a wholesome food advocate. She's a reformer, entrepreneur, and she's versed in recipe creation, food business development, and commercial food processing. So she believes that the baking business can be wholesome and systemized to run on autopilot. But what we are talking to Chef Jules today, because she's from her interest in the bakery business, it's made her very passionate about food, especially food that is grown organically in Nigeria, you know. So she is passionate about food. She's eager to make a difference, and she is creating a paradigm shift. May not be so quick, may not be as quick as they want it to be, but she is creating a paradigm shift. Chef Jules, are we here with us?
I'm here with you.
Okay. Last time we spoke, you and I have spoken about domestic alternatives to foreign
Grain.
foods a lot, a lot. I mean, generally, we've spoken a lot since. I mean, we started this conversation off, how would I call it? Since last year, off the screen since last year. You know, and I recall that you spoke about your cake mixes and also the ingredients in your cake mixes and the ingredients in imported cake mixes and the need for us as Africans, Nigerians specifically, to start depending more on our own. And then the invasion happened, and it threw up just how interconnected the world is and how dependent Nigeria is, which is something that we probably won't have the answer today, but I'm happy for us to start a conversation and for more people to think about what we're going to talk about and then join the conversation as well. So, in one of your comments, we've been showing you the video that you had about different types of wheat that you are, sorry, millet bread,
Millets.
yeah, that you're coming up with. So I'd just like to go back into the issue of the grain. And one of the things you said is wheat is a temperate grain, not sustainably grown in Africa. But my research shows that there are 13 wheat producing states in Nigeria, or maybe 13 states capable of producing wheat. Maybe that's a better way to put it, you know. And they're all in the northern part of Nigeria. And according to the records and my research, it says we produce, I think as of 2021, 36,943,800,000. My math may be wrong the way I say it. Metric tons of wheat in Nigeria. Hmm.
Hmm.
That sounds like a lot, but it may not be. What would be sustainable? Why would we say that wheat grows in only certain parts? Is it temperature? Is it to do with the microclimates in some parts of Nigeria?
Okay. Thank you so much, Auntie Julia, for having me. Yes, again on Unplugged. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here, and I'm super excited to join you in this very vital conversation about food value chain in Nigeria, especially as affects our national staple. In terms of production of wheat, in Nigeria, it's actually what I would call a human intervention because it naturally doesn't grow in sub-Saharan Africa at all. It's not a tropical grain; it's a temperate grain, so it's designed for the temperate region where the weather is cool to cold and not hot and scorching like we have here in Nigeria. Yes, it still does grow in states like Jigawa, Katsina, and I think 13, 12 other states, apart from those two I mentioned, including Jos, which has a very good climate for some temperate crops. However, it requires, it's not a low-hanging fruit. Even the agronomy behind the grain is not a low-hanging fruit in the sense that you need to kind of tend to the seedlings to grow them here, and it takes a lot of intervention to do that in terms of herbicides, uh, seed improvements, agronomy generally, and then just getting the farmers to buy into commercial value or commercial quantities. So now let me just try and put this in context a little bit. If you harvest all the grains, all the farms that you currently have in Nigeria right now, harvest all the wheat grains that you have, and then pass them through the milling company to mill them into flour for consumption. In 2 hours, you're done. Nothing will be left. So we have a quantity issue in terms of what we're producing, and also quality issue. The quality of grains we grow in Nigeria is nothing compared to the ones imported from where they're naturally designed to grow. So that's why you see there's a high demand for barley, rye, the different kinds of wheats, the different variants. So that in itself tells you that there's a lot of food politics involved too in growing the grains here in Nigeria. So the milling companies that use the grains to convert it to flour also have what they call outgrower schemes, where they
Hmm.
condition smallholder farmers to grow the grains. And then you see he who pays the piper dictates the tune. So if you're growing it for them, they're dictating the price. So it's not a naturally occurring or grown grain here in Nigeria. So there's a lot of politics involved in how we actually source it, and that's why it has become very important to have this conversation about must we even dwell on or derive our national staple, our daily bread, from a grain that has this unpredictable potential to escalate and just dictates, how we access food. So for me, my little research that I've done with this was with alarm recognition. I realized that, see, it's not enough to even just grow wheat here in Nigeria. We need to look at the entire grain value chain. How are we maximizing it? Why is wheat such a king of grains? And I think it has to do with our mindset and also our social conditioning, what I call the colonial construct of how we now esteem the wheat grain above other grains that we have right here in our backyards.
Okay, I'd like to dig in a little bit into that because we're going to do a deep dive into this and talking about the grain value chain. Um, Someone close to me taught me something a long time ago. He said, if there are issues to talk about, if there are issues that are problematic, follow the money. Who stands to gain? Who stands to gain? We may know, we may not know the specific people who stand to gain from keeping the value chain the way it is, but if we have to do so much tweaking, seed improvements in order, use herbicides in order to get wheat. So my question is, what do we have locally? When did bread become such a big issue? I had this conversation with a friend about 2 days ago. I mean, when did it become a staple? If you look at it from the health perspective, it may not be the healthiest option we have. It may not be. I may be wrong, but then I'm not a nutritionist or anybody. So I'm not bashing your business. I'm just saying it from from the point of view of somebody who is trying so hard to lose weight.
Mm.
You know, and I've been told don't eat so much bread, don't do this, don't do that. But I'm just asking, and this is just me asking, did we become very posh in rebranding what a staple is? Because a staple used to be cassava, used to be yam, used to be gari. That used to be a staple. I know you can wake your children up in the morning. We are really too posh for that now and give them gari and granite and send them off to school. We give them sandwiches and those kind of things. But did what happened along the way? And this is just me and you talking because I told my friend, I said, especially now that your kids are on on vacation, you have a little bit more time to give them yam chips if you want. You can give them potato chips if you want. Must it be bread, you know? But then that takes food out of your mouth, and I don't
Mm.
want to do that.
As a matter of fact, I think you've
So what
asked
do
me
you
like
think?
five questions in one. Let me try and unpack it one after the
Yeah.
other. First of all, we have a
Okay.
vast, rich array of grains in Nigeria. One of the videos I sent you, you'll see the packs of various grains that we have. We have millets, we have uh, guinea corn,
Mhm.
cowpeas, soya beans, sesame seeds. We have different kinds of grains. The ones that are very popular, the ones I'm mentioning right now. We have them in Benue, the food basket of Nigeria. We have them in Kogi, Kwara states. Every single state of Nigeria has a type of grain that grows there naturally. Now, with bread is a kind of unique kind of, I'm sorry, wheat is a kind of unique kind of grain because it contains gluten. Gluten is the component that gives bread the rise. So it makes it has that puffy, like I have one of the millet bread here, the puffy, the puffiness, So that's what the wheat grain does. It gives it that rise. When gluten is activated, it rises, and then you have all of that, scientific process that goes into baking bread. So now here's the thing. The other grains that we have are not gluten free. I mean, they are gluten free. They don't contain gluten. And so you're not able
Mhm.
to get that rise. What you get is like all these flat breads or like pizza bread and stuff like that. Now, I must say that in Ethiopia, where they don't have this control of wheat, they have what they call TEF, TEFF. It's a gluten free grain as well. And they have been able to derive their national staple from that particular crop. So the issue here is not even must we eat bread. The issue is what national staple should we call our own? Shouldn't it be derived from a grain that grows naturally here? And if you're also going to bring in grain from the abroad, there's no problem with that. However, when it becomes heavily dependent on that, there's a problem. In a country like Egypt, 80% of their staple comes from wheat. In short, they import it into their country. Pasta is like their mainstay, and that comes from wheat. In Nigeria today, we are also like Egypt. Everything we bring here is imported, and because of that, we kind of neglected, our own grains. I'm saying now that because of the war in Ukraine and the rising cost of wheat and even the dollar exchange rates, what has happened now is that we're not even able to afford it. I mean, I think as of yesterday, dollar exchange rate was 710 a dollar is 710 naira. So how do you want to bring in this wheat and not sell the flour at 50,000 naira a bag? So it didn't really make sense. And I said, okay, instead of reacting and saying, let's go on strike, NEC is not going to produce wheat for us. NEC, they're not farmers, no matter how the kind of legislative laws are put in place, they are not the ones growing these crops. They're not going to provide the crops for you. So we, the manufacturers, talking with the farmers, and then the consumers can say, you know what, why can't we reduce our dependency on wheat? So I said, we have grains that we can integrate into this wheat production. And the idea that wheat is not good for the health or if you're trying to lose weight, I think is a misconception because what makes you add weight essentially is number one, your portion, and then added sugar can help. You can also increase your weight. Portion control is one way one can actually do all of that. And also complex carbs. You need complex carbs. A balanced diet requires carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and oils, micronutrients as well. So, and the grains, wheat grain is not an unhealthy grain. What makes it unhealthy is when you strip it of all the micronutrients that come with it naturally, and you now make it pliable for profitability and shelf life by stripping all of that, polishing and making it refined, it becomes unwholesome. As a matter of fact, there's what they call sterilized flour, which they use to make things like mixes. That is also very unwholesome, but wheat in itself is not unwholesome. It's just how it's reconstituted before it's integrated into our food tables. That's where it becomes unwholesome. So I'm saying the cost of wheat is too much. You can't even start saying scrap bread right now. We need like a 100-year plan. Every 10 years, what are you bringing to the table to kind of reduce dependency on wheat? So millet is a way I just thought, okay, let me experiment with the local grains. I mean, a 3.5 kg portion of millet goes for 1,000 naira, while that exact same quantity of wheat flour goes for 2,500 naira. That's well over 100% increase in the price. That's a 150% increase in the price. So what if we reduce the wheat dependency and now incorporate things like our millet into it, and then also maybe like cowpea or soya bean? So the whole idea is integrate, hybridize, reduce dependency on the wheat grain, because we also want to import our cassavas to other parts of the world. We can't say, oh, we can't, take imports. We're saying let's not depend 100% on importation of grains for us to be able to produce our national staple. Then the issue of, okay, let's eat wholesome. Yam is also carbohydrates, just like wheat. It's also a complex carbs. It's when you now start doing what they call human intervention in improving shelf life, making it softer, giving more color, all those things that human beings do to food products in the original state to recreate them for profitability. That is what actually makes these food products not very wholesome. Not that proteins are better than carbs or carbs are not important. If you take carbs away from your diet, you will not survive. Give yourself a few days, you'll just be like a vegetable, not able to do anything, can't function, can't
True.
think. So you need carbohydrate. The issue is what kind of carbs are you consuming? Are you consuming them as complex carbs, which is the best form of consuming carbohydrates? So that's why I say, for me, the mission I am on right now is just a mission of let's not depend 100% on wheat grain. If you say, someone said, oh, Julius, but you're a baker, how are you going to be in business? I'm like, you can pivot your business and find more wholesome ways to earn a living. As a matter of fact, the whole idea of even product definition is to solve problems, right? So if wheat has become a bone in the neck, and can no longer, sustainably thrive on it without its cost amount and leg, then switch some other means of creating a national staple. So that's why I said it's not like wheat is bad. It's just that we cannot grow it in a sustainable manner. It's too expensive, and so if something is too expensive and is already giving you your mental health is already challenged when you cannot provide for your children. Kids are home right now. I mean, my kids, they can eat 3 loaves of bread a day. That's like the copy. Like, what's this? So you can actually spend your your entire budget goes into bread. I mean, in my home, I did the average number of loaves we eat
True.
in a week is well over 12. I'm not joking. So kids love to eat bread, and I feel like we can re-engineer the palates of children, along the foods that we provide. They don't earn a living like we do, so they cannot dictate for us. We tell them what to eat. So and I keep saying that one of the things that our food should practice is we should. Well, one thing, food safety means how wholesome is your meal, how nutritive is the meal. So if we say no, you're not going to eat that bread because it
Yeah.
contains 100%, but let's say have some protein, some low carbs, some high fiber in it. The kids might grumble, but by the time you put your foot down, they get hungry. They will have no choice but to start tilting towards that. So we, the parents, have the owner's responsibility of ensuring that our kids are adequately fed with wholesome, nutritive meals, not because not just because it's affordable, because it's good for their health as well. So that's my take on that. I hope I even answered all the questions you asked put across to me.
Yeah, and more questions have popped up. I get what you say about the integration of other grains, and that's very important because the whole plan for this is not to cut ourselves off from the world. It's to make sure
Mm,
that if something happens in one part of the world, we are not how that goes. We can be shaken, we can be affected, but we are not losing our minds about it.
mm, yeah.
Um, just by sheer coincidence, yesterday I buy a loaf of bread for my family a week. Sometimes I join them, but I think I eat bread like twice a week. I mean, I'm trying to cut down on so many other things. When you get to be a woman of a certain age, food stays in your body a lot longer than
Yeah,
it
I
is when you're
agree.
more active. So that's my reason. I still eat my we understand ourselves. We are foodies, so we know what's up. You know. But then I went to buy a regular loaf of bread, and it was smaller, but it was the same price. It was smaller, you know, than what we would buy it for normally. And then what I saw, I mean, I just said, well, you eat it. The people who like to eat it will eat it, and that's it. But what we also I saw this morning was it popped up on I think Facebook or Instagram. I can't remember, but on social media, and it was somebody giving out loaves of bread and eggs, crate of eggs at an Owambe party in your wonderful city. I'm like, okay, this is kind of akin to how people said gave out. I think also in your wonderful city they gave little jerry cans of fuel at a time earlier this year too. After the invasion started, and it just that's just to make us laugh a little bit, but to see these things are seen so as being so critical to us that we can give them out at one day parties. And then, well, there's that.
I
I'd
mean,
like to talk
that's
about re-engineering the palate.
that's hilarious.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. I mean, if I had to see it to believe it, I definitely saw it. I definitely saw it. The re-engineering the palettes, our palettes with other breads. I mean, we've eaten. I haven't eaten teff, but I've eaten naan bread. I've eaten tortillas. No, tortillas are chips, but I've eaten those too. I've eaten the flatbread,
Yeah.
etc. They don't taste like the the one wheat bread, right? They don't taste like that, but they're also very tasty, extremely tasty. So, how do we get to re-engineer the palate? I saw one of your videos. You showed the lady who was selling millet. Didn't even know that it was
Yeah.
called millet. You know, and but you knew it. But you knew the difference between the two, and that's just amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's not just at the that level. Many of us, if you showed us wheat, we wouldn't know. Actually,
Hmm.
wouldn't know. Okay, we have a comment here that from my sis Alero. She said injera made from teff is actually very tasty. I
Hmm.
let me put that up.
Injera made from
Okay,
teff. Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's
Teff.
teff or
She meant
teff.
teff. Yeah,
I
teff.
yeah, it's actually very tasty. Teff, teff. Okay, okay.
And so let me comment a bit
So
about
yeah,
that
so
example
how
you
do we
gave.
get to re-engineer a palette?
They said change is the only constant thing in life, or something like that, and that's one thing that we struggle to adopt. It will come to a
Yeah,
point where you will not even have a choice. Now we're still saying, okay, we still have a choice of do you want to spend more or you want to just kind of try and find another alternative. It's what they call wheat derivatives, things like manioc flour, cassava flour. A friend of mine said, Juliet, I'm eating breads from cassava and it tastes like broken hopes and dreams, you know? And that, oh, it doesn't taste as great as the wheat bread. And I
cassava
said,
flour.
okay, the whole idea of even eating wheat bread as quality bread is a manipulative marketing tactics adopted by those who brought wheat to the table because who says wheat is superior? No, it's all perception, how it's created around the grain. When they say if it's not soft, it's not good bread. Who says that soft bread is actually good? Can you justify that? Or who says that white bread is better, it tastes better? The whole idea of your taste. I always say your body is amoral. It doesn't know good or bad. It's what you feed it, it adopts. So if you haven't really eaten bread all your life,
Sorry, Juliet. So I have a message for you, Jules.
I'm here, I can hear you.
Jules, I have a message for you. Um, Someone saying on Facebook, Olubenga says, "Can you use your earpiece? Sorry, so we can hear you directly. That
Okay, I'm using the
audio
earpiece.
is a second generation sound. I don't know, but
I'm using the
is your
earpiece.
earpiece on your on your Instagram thing?
Yes, yes.
Your,
Should I
is
remove
this
it?
on your Instagram? on the
Okay, I'm using both
phone you're using for
Instagram and the
Instagram.
yes, I'm using my phone on Instagram.
You see, is her earpiece on it? It is. No, I don't
Yeah.
think you should be.
Okay, we shouldn't
Can
put
you
the
hear
earpiece on
us
Instagram.
clearly? Okay, and is your earpiece on Instagram on your Instagram phone
Yes, it
on your
is.
Instagram device?
Yes.
You should. You should.
Yeah. Okay, I should, right?
Somebody just
Would
couldn't
it
hear. I
echo if I
wanted to
take
be
it out?
sure that they could hear. That's all
Can they
on
hear me?
Instagram.
Can they hear me on Instagram now? Can you hear me on Instagram?
You, you know,
Please, can you let me
I can hear
can
you.
you let me
I
know?
can hear you perfectly. So, guys on Instagram, let me know. Can you hear her well? Please, just anybody, just give me
Hi,
any
Cuckoo Star.
feedback.
Hi.
Just wave or give a thumbs up if
Please,
it's okay, or a
please
thumbs
let me
down
know
if
if you
you're
can
not
hear me on
okay.
Instagram.
Okay, Sister Lero can hear you loud and clear. Sis, you're with us here on yeah.
Okay, we can hear you. Oh, okay. Ah, okay. Thank you, Taiwo.
Okay, I'm just checking the comments. I'm checking the comments. Yeah. Let me just check. We have quite a few people on Instagram today, so I'm just
Okay.
scrolling through. Oh, fantastic. Great. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Tyrell. Thank you very much. Yeah, I had to scroll all the way down together. Thank you. Okay, sorry, Jules, I interrupted what you were saying. You know,
Okay. What was I really saying? I kind of lost my
and we
my
were
train
talking
of
about
thought.
re-engineering our
Okay,
palettes.
yes, yes. I talked about the genius master stroke on marketing that made people feel like if it's not wheat, it's not quality. I think that's I want to even I'm still investigating how did wheat become so dominant. And I think it's a colonial grain, if you ask me. That's how the colonial masters, what they used to dominate us. If you check in India, they also use wheat. I was really surprised at the Egyptian dependency on wheat grain. 80% of wheat used in Egypt is imported as well. About 44% in Kenya. Cameroon alone imports 1 million tons of wheat every single year. So, yeah, 1 million tons every
Okay.
single year. 1 million tons. A ton is 100,000 kg or something like that. So imagine the kind of dependence that we have. Imagine if we have to sell 1 million tons of millets to Cameroon, and the rest of it. As a matter of fact, someone said, "Are you sure by the time you now start adopting millets in your bread, the price of millets will become as high?" But that would be great because if it's as high, that means we can actually the agronomy behind millets cultivation is a lot simpler than wheat. Just like you say, they grow strawberries in Jos, but you don't really grow it so readily, abundantly. Like you grow things like mangoes in their season. So the whole idea of re-engineering our palates means how can we actually begin to change that narrative around wheat and say, okay, the ones I have, in my Shokoto is actually better than the one I have in Sokoto, meaning literally that most I import it. I think we Nigerians suffer from what they call cognitive dissonance, meaning that we bury our heads in the sand. We tell ourselves a story to justify our reluctance to begin to challenge status quo or reluctance to begin to, kind of drill down. Backward integration is the only way we can free ourselves from this economic slavery that we find ourselves. It also helps. I mean, if you check the confectionery industry right now, about 10.5 million people are employed in this sector. Imagine you are downing tools because you're going on strike. How are you going to feed the people? How are you going to feed your families? Then you see the spike in kidnappings and insecurity and all the rest of that. So the whole idea of not even beginning to think about how to backward integrate our local grains is a ticking time bomb. People are wishing and hoping that, okay, we'll hear that, oh, flour has gone back to the old price. It's not going to go back, guys. Even when the war in Ukraine ends, it ain't going to go back because inflation has set in. It's a ripple effect. If one country coughs now, the next country catches cold. With technology, it has brought us all together. It's now become like a global village. And so when you start depending on a product like wheat, it becomes a political tool, actually. They say, oh, maybe if you vote me to power, I'll make sure wheat becomes 1 naira. It's not going to happen because you don't even grow
It
it.
won't happen.
So for you to now start saying, let's grow wheat in Nigeria, you should have started doing that 60 years ago to see how we can dominate it. After all, Malaysia came to Nigeria, took the oil seeds, the oil palm seeds, and today they're the number one oil producing nation in the world. And they took the inspiration from Nigeria. So why are Nigerians not doing that? We also need to have a cohesive value chain association where you are saying all the millet farmers. Imagine you are selling millet, you don't know what millet is. I mean, it was such an eye-opening experience. It was, like I said, with alarm recognition that I
It
realized
was
that there
scary.
is
It was
complete
scary for me.
ignorance about the kind of
Yeah.
grains that we can use. Yeah. So if you're baking bread 100% with wheat flour that you import, it is wrong. I think it is morally wrong. It also affects our identity. It tells me, the story of bread tells me how distorted our identity as a nation is. That your national food that you eat on a daily basis depends on an imported grain. Some say, but we grow wheat in Nigeria. Yes, you try to grow it. Not that we actually grow it. We try to grow it because what we are growing in Nigeria is not commercially sustainable for the whole 200 million plus Nigerians that we have, and you don't even have enough to feed yourself. What are you exporting? So for a country to be self-sufficient or to become developing properly, I mean developing, that you're even developing, it means that you can feed yourself. You're self-sufficient. We're not even self-sufficient. How are we able to now grow? So it's a moral issue for me. Like, this is not correct. And in our backyards, we just pour the grain of millet to grow. Pour the grain of wheat and see if it's going to grow like that. Try it. Let's even try to experiment with that and see. So there is that. I think life is telling us that, see, you need to go back to the drawing board, go back to the farms, talk to your farmers. So I started looking for who are the millet farmers. I googled it. I know there is the intervention by the FMA and Flour Millers Association of Nigeria. Yes, but you see all those activities that is happening there is also kind of push the agenda of we are the ones selling wheat flour. So let's be seen to be doing this thing so that we still be the ones controlling this market. They're the ones controlling the markets. And I keep saying that until Nigerians start controlling the source of their value chain, they will continue to remain in economic slavery and be in that
Okay.
political construct that it has to come from the abroad for us to be able to sustain ourselves.
Okay. I like the abroad. But a few things have come up, and we have a few questions. But I see what you're talking about. We need to look inwards. The backward integration is no longer an option. It's no longer a nice to have. It's become a must have.
Yeah.
If there must be development in Nigeria and on all levels. And it's not just a moral thing. It's not just emancipating ourselves from mental slavery. It's also an economic thing. It's a development thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's something that would the ripple effect is immense. You know, so backward integration, it sounds nice. It's the how to that becomes a very serious thing. And I like what you said about the value chain association. But I'm going to pause. We will talk about that a little bit more, and then I'll just share a few questions that people have asked.
Aha.
Lavender asked about Acha. Yeah, she said she's
Okay.
heard a lot about Acha. So can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, the acha grain is a miracle grain, I tell you. However,
Wow.
it's gluten free and it's like sand, so it doesn't bind. And you need a binder for your bread to hold. If you bake with acha, you're not going to have like for cakes or for breads. If you bake with acha, you're not going to have that binding power. So you need to use something like I think xanthan gum mixed with maybe
Mm.
chia seeds. So it's still a lot of hybridization, tapioca flour, brown rice flour, all of that. So when you bake gluten free, they use acha to bake gluten free products. I tried to use it to bake cakes. It was even for me about the I baked the cake for. She was like, "Is this sand?" It was because she likes gluten free products, and it was so sandy and it kind of granuled out. So it failed. It didn't really work to give that texture. But I said, well, that's because you see cake as a melt in the mouth product. If you see it as a grainy product as well, you enjoy it. So you see, it's all about the controlling of the mindset and all that. So did you shaking my head? We have to. I mean, we have to take the responsibility of kind of reconditioning our pallets as well. Acha is amazing. It's called fonio. It grows in
Yes.
Jos very well. It's really, really amazing. You can make it into pap. You can make it into like cereal, like your breakfast cereal. It doesn't have to be in bread form. Millet is also very good. It's very high, very, very
So we
high
can use that chat for other
in
things. Yeah.
yes, well, all that stuff. And you can also incorporate it into your bread. I still have some phone here. I'm still experimenting on a lot of grains to see can I do 50% of a local grain and then 50% of the wheat flour because wheat flour actually gives bread. If you say bread, you're talking wheat. That's the origin of bread. Wheat is the mastermind behind bread. The issue is can you manipulate it to give you other variants? Yes, we can. So we need to do what they call R&Ds, research development, to kind of help us find ways of integrating our local grain. We need to bind with this almighty wheat because we can't fight it. So if you can't beat them, join them. We have to join them, join that with
Yeah.
grain, and then make us have a hybrid Nigerian staple. We cannot depend on wheat 100%. It's not sustainable. It's no longer, and you don't want a food revolution where you now see the million boys coming to say, yeah, because they can't eat bread. Some people kind of feed on a daily wage basis. And so when they can no
Yes.
longer, bread, in my bakery right now, a loaf of bread is 1,200. Oh my
Hello.
goodness. So I'm
Wow.
like, I don't want to do big man bread. I want to do bread that people can eat wholesomely. So we're trying to see how, and the millet bread is 500 naira, so it's
Okay.
cheaper, more nutritive, more wholesome, high in fiber. You can go on the Cake Flair, click on the link tree page. You see how you can get and if you don't like it, money back guaranteed. Honestly, because everyone who has tasted this bread, like this is really amazing. Oh my god! So so I said, well, we need to do more. What do you know? Because normally for us as business owners, we are more of let's make profits, and the need to make profits sometimes holds us back from also seeing how we can
Do
reinvent
better.
the process.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we still have the 100% with bread at the baker. Just say, put this beside it. Give them some when they come. Try this bread. Oh, this is nice. So did you toast? What you have to eat is with millets, or we even added some with skinny corn and millet mixed together. This is really nice. Oh, for real, how much is it? It's even cheaper. So we put the two breads beside each other. Madam, try this one. Okay, try this one. What do you think? And they all come back saying, "Whoa, what have we been thinking? We can actually eat this, and my kids will actually love it." If your kids don't love it, don't worry. Just keep, it's called an acquired taste. Even your bread is an acquired taste. You'll kind of, over time, um, enjoy it. And I keep saying that, see, give it, if nothing venture, nothing gain. If you don't even try,
Absolutely.
some say, no, 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 madam, please, I don't want, no, 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 no. There was a guy who walked into our bakery, he's a priest. He said, forget it, madam, just how much is, even if it's 2K, we buy it. I'm like, well, okay, you don't
Hmm.
represent the teeming population who can just buy. I can never buy bread 2,000 naira for what? Bread is an unemotional product for me. Why would I spend 2K on a loaf of bread? It's supposed to be daily bread, like something you kind of sustain on, on a daily basis. So I feel like the wheat bread has come to stay. We have been going door to door, try this, sampling it out. People are trying it. Some just buy outrightly that, what, this is it contains carbs, like, contains high fiber, right? Oh, I'm buying that just for that reason alone. Oh, it's even cheaper. So it means if you put the regular bread beside the wheat bread, the millet bread, you realize that the reason why you're buying the wheat bread is just conditioning. It's not better. It's
It
just
is.
conditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So we
Jules, if we go to Mexico now, and all we can eat is the wraps. Are
yeah.
we going to complain? You're not going to complain. You eat what they have. Oh yeah, you
Yes.
eat what they have. Yes. Yes.
So it's okay to complain. I think I like the conversation that comes up from the complaints. I don't like it. Why? I'm not used to it. Okay. You know, habits are, if you give yourself time, and I keep saying these things about habits, why are you used to it,
It's the
first
same
of
with
all?
you.
So the issue is we need to begin to ask ourselves the right questions. Why are you used to it? It's convenient. Is it cheaper? It's not. It's not even cheaper than millet bread. It's not cheaper. It's not more wholesome. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, they've
But
sold us
it's
a lie, and we
they're
bought that lie
used
as
to
the
it.
truth. Let's now go back and begin to, wake up from our slumber and begin to integrate our local grains into our bread, into our grains, into our bread production. Someone asked if millet is if wheat flour binds millet. Yes. Unfortunately, wheat is the only grain that contains gluten. I don't know any other grain that contains gluten. So yes, buy wheat by all means, but don't depend on it 100%. Is what I'm saying. I'm not saying you should ditch wheat, so if you cannot. However, don't rely on it 100% anymore. Let this Ukrainian war wake us up to a new way of thinking, a new way of lifestyle, which is eat more wholesomely. And I keep saying that commercial bread too.
And
There's
eat
a problem with
locally.
that.
Eat more
Yes,
locally.
because look at
Yes.
it, the commercial bread. Now, the average commercial bread is white, it's chewing gummy. When you pull this apart, it has this drawy, like chewing gum coming apart. That is not good for you. Those are chemical additives that are added to it to bind it, to give it good shelf life, make it smell nice, taste good. But once it enters your body, it is not, it is doing the exact opposite actually. You know, and so you see bloating. If you eat the millet bread, you're not going to bloat because it's high in fiber. It will drag everything out from you. So I'm like, oh my goodness, no. When I discovered this thing about the millet bread, I started jumping like, oh my goodness, more R&Ds has to be done. Let's not just chase profit. Let's chase nutritive content. Let's not just become entrepreneurs as food entrepreneurs. Let's become nutripreneurs, where we are looking at the nutritive content of this breads or cakes or anything you're eating. You know, I keep saying that things like breads and cakes, they're comfort food. You can't just say you want to eat vegetables 24/7. Oh, come on. Let's pick up a smell of coffee. You want to still feel good. You want to still, comfort food. So balance it. So my point is we can experiment with grades. And I don't have monopoly of the minutes grade disclaimer. I mean, we all can start saying we want all bakers. I want to encourage you, sit down with your recipe, start adding all these local grains to it, and start coming up with grains that we can try. Also, there's another bread that's really amazing. I got the supplies from Onoski in Benue. They brought me soya beans. We used that to actually bake the bread. Oh my goodness, it was so delicious. The only problem with the soya bread is it has a very low shelf life. As a matter of fact, we have to refrigerate the bread, so it was by the next day. It was already going bad. So you see, but all those things are ways you can make sure that if I do more research, analyze the grain, I can help remove, maybe reduce moisture so it does not go bad quickly. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how they even this grain. That was what the original wheat grain is heavy. It's not even as light as what we used to make this bread, but they had to tweak it. So they had to tweak it. I think we've gone off Facebook.
Um, we've gone off IG. I think it's trying to reconnect.
Okay, I think we've gone off.
No, I'm sure we're going to
No.
reconnect. We're going to reconnect. Let me see what the connection level is right now. Okay, you've gone off. You've gone off. Let me see.
How do I come back in?
Let me invite you back.
Oh, how can I get so? Someone's asking me how can I get this bread?
Yeah, I'm inviting you back.
Okay, yes, it's coming. Oh, yeah, it's coming back on now.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Reverend
Yeah.
Abune is asking me how he can get this bread.
Yeah, that was a question I wanted to get to. But I think there's certain things that we must not let drop through the excitement of this experiment and discovery you've made, which is fantastic. There has to be a value chain association. How
Yes.
can that happen? Number two, we become nutripreneurs, and I'd call it what we should have. I mean, I know when I started, I went to business school, not the one you're thinking about. So I don't know the one thinking about. But when I went to business school in Lagos Business School, and we were taught about the session on several sessions on ethics, and we were told that there's nothing called business ethics. That ethics are ethics. So you either have
Mm,
ethics, you're either ethical or you're not ethical. You know,
sure.
and I think we need to become more of entrepreneurs with a conscience, because lacking conscience as entrepreneurs has put us where we are. So we take the easy way out. We
Mm.
take the easy way out, you know. So it's very important
Okay,
that
can I chip in
yeah,
a little bit there? When you mentioned
yeah,
cohesive advocacy, that's I mean, me alone talking about millet bread is not sufficient. I know after, and
Yes.
I'm glad we're doing this, having these conversations. And a lot of people are also excited that we're starting this initiative. And I must say, yes, we bash government a lot, you know. I must say that
I'm not into
this
bashing
about
government. I'm
the
into what are
Ministry
the
of
solutions we can have. Yes.
neither am I, but I'll state for what it is. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry, honestly, so they did an SME, they call it exclusive exhibition, a fair, to, okay, if you have an SME, register and come and display your products. I felt that was really laudable, and we showcase our products. And I think those kind of interventions are really great. We need to band together and form advocacy groups and say, okay, like now, I've started the domestic grain initiative where we're going to be integrating domestic grains into wheat. We need wheat. I'm not, for us to make bread, we need
Yeah.
wheat. If you don't want to eat bread, if you don't want to eat wheat at all, then get off bread. I mean, but if you must eat bread, you need wheat. However, how can we make sure that we now don't depend on importing wheat 100% to make bread? I'm saying integrate, hybridize your wheat grain with our local grains. Our local grains. We can grow wheat locally to some extent, but not properly. It's too expensive to do that. We spend so much. The low hanging fruits ones are millets, sorghum,
Yeah.
guinea corn, cassava. Cassava one was kicking off, but I'm like, okay, let's improve it more and more. And the more we consume and give feedbacks on products, the better we're able to improve the quality of the end product, which is the bread that we're going to be eating. So yes, advocacy groups. I'm calling on. We have PBAN, the Premium Bread Bakers Association of Nigeria. We have B&C. The B&C, I call them the principality of the bread industries. They're the ones that actually distribute bread across board. They do the hard work of ensuring that this bread gets to your table. So they're the ones that actually do the distribution. Mama Afo, Mama Kalejaye, Tola, there are a lot of them. Some big dealers actually distribute. They buy from one baker. They used to buy from us 500 loaves. One distributor, 600 loaves, 1,000 loaves, and they now sell to sub dealers. So the value chain for bread distribution, you have the big dealers, you have the sub dealers, you have the marketers who now supply supermarkets. Before it gets to you can see the five actors in that value chain before it gets to
Yeah.
your table. So it doesn't come from the big. Don't buy it from the bakery. I was running a bakery factory where I was producing 3,000 loaves a day at the time. I lost money from even though I was doing the volume, there was no profit in it. So I shut that down. And then now I'm doing premium quality bread for a niche market who buy online and will distribute to their tables. What I did was just kind of build the database of those who want to buy to make sure that it meets the numbers I can supply on a daily basis to break even. So my point is, we need stakeholders like Mama Afo, Madam Kalejaye to come together and say, you know what, let's also introduce millet bread to Nigeria. It's even cheaper than the other breads. Now, I don't know who is benefiting from the price of wheat going up. Nobody is. In short, the master bakers are gone on strike. At the point, distributors of flour
I
were
think
even
they're
hoarding
off
what they
strike
had.
now.
Like, okay, don't know what's going on. So I'm like, yeah, okay, they're off strike now. We've not heard any public statements about. It's just kind of mellow. So because it's not sustainable to just say you're going to shut down bread. Let's now say, okay, now that we have seen what bread can do to us and the impact it can have on our tables, let's sit down, stakeholder. I say national conference on bread, and also okay, manufacturers, government policymakers, and consumers as well. Let's sit down. Can we start reinventing local grains into bread making and find the ones that people can readily afford? Because if I also start doing millet bread, nobody is buying. I'm going to shut it down too. So we need the consumers to also have a buy-in, into this. They want what's affordable, what's wholesome, what's easily accessible as well. If I'm the only one doing wheat bread and you're already in Port Harcourt, nobody's baking millet bread. How are you going to get access to it? So we need more bakers to join this movement, so ensuring that we are able to integrate our local grains into our bread production.
Very, very, very key. That value chain. And I will not be as naive to think that we're going to get it all done in one day. We are not even going to get it all done in a year where we are leading up to politics. But I
No,
believe that
yeah,
to elections, But I believe that this is not a political issue. When we escalate bread to a political issue, then there are ethical things that we must consider. We food cannot become a political issue. We cannot talk about food scarcity and a country like Nigeria where we have, according to what I keep hearing on the news, 64 million acres of arable land. How can
Wow.
we have food scarcity in Nigeria? How is that possible? Who is taking their eyes off the ball? We are asking these questions because we actually do want answers to them. We are not asking them because we want you to stop importation of bread, of wheat, but we're asking them because
Wait.
we actually do want whatever. Let people be able to eat what they can afford and what they like. Let there be options, and let the options be accessible. You know, we have a couple of questions. We have like 4 minutes to go. Jules, the time just flies by when we're together. You know, and SCN asks, I'm not sure how much gluten rice grain contains. Rice cakes and rice crackers are great snack foods. Does Nigeria still produce rice? Uh,
Nigeria has done phenomenally well in rice production. As a matter of fact, if you go to the market and they'll say, "I want Nigerian rice," it's actually it tastes more rustic. It has an earthy. It has more flavorful taste than the polished rice that you bring in from the abroad. So, and now, do you know that Fada rice is one of the hottest selling exports? From
yeah,
Nigeria. It's now more expensive than regular rice. So I don't. In the last 2 years, I don't think I've ever bought imported rice. It's been Nigerian rice all the way. And
yes,
so we've seen great progress, and that's the power of backward integration. When they first started making Nigerian rice, if you wash that bowl of rice, you see the water so muddy, so black, very dirty looking stuff. Now you probably wash like 6, 7 times for you to get a clear water. But now, if you wash Nigerian rice, maybe second wash, you're clean. So you see how the feedback did help the development of the agronomy of rice. And so if we can do that with other grains, and we also use, yes, we actually use rice for gluten-free breads. So beyond the rice, if you do that for millet, in places like Kwara, they call it okababa. You can actually use that. You see, another problem we're having now is for those who want to go to the farms, the space of insecurities and kidnappings is also something that has to be looked into, because you cannot go to your farm and then you're afraid, watching your shoulder, like, am I safe? And then you have people attacking your workers or kidnapping you, asking for a ransom of 2,000. It happened to a friend of mine who had a tomato farm, and he couldn't go because they attacked his staff. They were looking for him, as a matter of fact. Who is the guy of this farm? And then they carried, the staff. They were able to rescue them, but they paid a ransom. So he just shut down that bread. They shut down that tomato farm. So insecurity is a big issue. We cannot talk about just integrating local grains without also looking at the conducive environment to help our local farmers. And they're all smallholder farmers. They're not even, if you go to a country like America, where a state like Iowa, you can have a whole streets, like a whole, I mean, from Ikorodu is a very long expanse. You can see a farm as long as Ikorodu road. But here you just see maybe 10 plots, 5 plots, max 2 plots. We're all subsistent farmers. You're not really institutions. So we need to be able to expand those farms to accommodate more production, more agronomy, more good practices, more seed intervention. Also make the seeds affordable and readily available. Improve hybridized seeds are very good to help curb things like uh, disease controls, or not disease control on the crops. So you see, it's a whole lot of conversation we must have. But we've started the journey, and
it
as we
started.
begin to hit, yeah, as we get impeded on the path, we redirect until we find a place we can say, yes, we're now self-sufficient, lacking nothing.
Okay, I mean, it's like water. I was likening life to water to someone I was talking to the other day, and I said, life is like water. The problems, there'll be problems, but you see, water,
Mm,
it just keeps going. It just keeps going. It reroutes, it directs. Sometimes it becomes a spring. Sometimes it becomes constricted. Sometimes it becomes big. I'd just like to share. We've had a lot of comments, a lot of engagements today. I'd like to
yes.
thank everybody, but I'd just like to
Top
share
baker,
a comment from
sugar
Top
daddy.
Baker. Can I just share? It says, I
Sugar
think
daddy
the
said we
world
need
food
to break the
supply.
grand monopoly on wheat find alternative. Awesome.
Okay, I think the food supply is being manipulated to favor some countries, same way the supply of some basic daily needs are controlled in this
Yes,
country,
spot on.
etc.,
Spot on.
etc. We need to break the grand monopoly on wheat and find alternatives. So this is what Unplugged is meant to do. It's meant to start conversations. It's meant to have people come together, people of like minds come together. If you want
Yeah,
to build a platform, because we have to start, we really have to start. We can't just talk about it and walk away. We really have to start to do this thing. Jules, there were many other things I wanted to ask you, but the engagement has been amazing today, and the information we've gotten is enough for us to start saying, how can we start a value chain association? And if you guys want to come back here and talk about it, yes, we will be glad to provide you
yeah.
with that platform and other things. And the question I'd like to ask before we sign off, hopefully the last question, is how can you get more people to taste your millet bread? Maybe you think
Okay.
about that.
You can
How
ask
can we
my
get more
bakery.
people?
But,
No,
but
I
actually, if you
can't
really
come to
want
your
to taste the
bakery.
bread today, I know, I know. And Gina, we're actually sending you some loaves of the millet bread to you to sample and just taste and give us your feedback as well. So
Oh,
I'll get your
fantastic.
address. I mean, we already have yours packaged actually. Just to take it to GIG and send
Oh,
to you.
fantastic.
And for those who want to,
Okay.
for those who really want to access the bread right now, just go to cakeflair.ng/products/millets-bread. You know, millet bread.
Okay, let me
You see,
let
just
me
click on
let me
cakeflair.ng, go to bread basket.
pick Flair.
Cakeflair.ng
Yes.
slash products slash
Okay.
millets dash bread. So we have the
Okay,
three
guys.
variants. We have the multi-grain. Where is that? Multi-grain. Multi-grain. It has a. I got the granola grains from Sugar Daddy.
Okay. Hi, Sugar
Then
Daddy.
I
I
also
love
have
your name.
a light millet bread, and
Yes.
and we and we have the savory millet bread, and they're very affordable, 500 naira.
Thank you. Thank
So
you
the
so
goal is
much,
to
Jules.
get the price as low as 400, 300. Let's see how low it can be. The whole idea is for the masses to be able to afford these things. And you know, this is more anti. The good thing about this is that it has more nutrients than regular commercial bread. Cheaper, more nutritive. That's the dream come true. You should go for it.
I think Sugar Daddy really hit it, and I don't want to say he said it perfectly. I don't want to say any more on that issue, you know. Not because I'm not political, but because I'm not right now in the space where I can affect policy on that matter. But our job is to let this bubble up into people's minds and let us all know that we have alternatives and discuss how can we get these alternatives. For instance, the people in Port Harcourt might ask, oh, can I get some extra too? Can I taste it? And if you taste it, maybe another market opens up because market is supply and demand, you know. And
Mm.
Jules, I'd like to thank you very much, you and everybody who's joined us in this conversation today. Mission concern Agege bread with Ukraine. You can now see you can now
Nice.
see which one concern Agege bread with
That should be a
Ukraine.
campaign slogan. That should be a campaign slogan.
We can see it, and we're looking at how we can do more R&D, have more
Yeah.
self-sufficiency, backward integration,
Healthy
and give ourselves
association.
more
Yeah.
options. Yeah, work together
Yeah.
to have more options for Nigerians. It's a win-win for all of us. It's a win-win. Those who love wheat will continue, and those who like other options will continue as well. So next week we're going to talk about personal food sufficiency. What can we do with our in our homes? And we're going to talk to the very talented and green-fingered, amazing Jackie Apanta of My Plants Life. She's here in Port Harcourt. She'll be here with me. So check her out on IG on My Plant Life and come join the conversation. Meanwhile, if you do want wheat bread and you're in Port Harcourt, yeah, you can ask Jules to pass it through me and I'll get it to you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody who joined us on IG. We'll see you
Thank
next
you.
week. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye. And Jules, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Auntie. God
Sister
bless
Lenny.
you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. We must do this again. Bye.